Call the meeting to order. Councilman Reyna, would you lead us in the invocation, please?
Councilman Carroll, we had a special attention, and I know Councilwoman DeFranco.
As well as Acting Mayor Seguir. My bad. I'll give it to you. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. And it is with a solemn heart that I make these special intentions. It is always something that we all have to deal with when our loved ones or friends go through something tragic. But it is also especially tragic when it deals with the death of a young person. And by this person, I am talking about Miss Jorian White, who was laid to rest over the weekend. Miss Jorian White was a resident of District 1. Her family and I were, her maternal side of the family were great friends. She lived in the Veteran Heights area. She went to Bonneville High School. A lot of things that many people in our area that have an association with all the teachers and everyone. But it is sad to say that is where it stops. She will no longer be able to afford all of the blessings that many of us have, to get married, to have children, to have grandchildren, to go on to college, because tragically her life was taken away from her. It is something that we can never understand. There is solace that someone has been arrested for that, and justice will prevail in the end. I attended a vigil with the family Friday before the services, and all the families wanted me to let everyone know thanks for your prayers, thanks for all of the attention that was given to it, looking for her when she was missing. They particularly wanted to thank the Kenner Police Department, the coordination with the St. Charles Police Department to finally to bring someone to the charge for this, and everyone else that prayed for them and donated, particularly the Vineyard Church and Victory Fellowship, where the services were held. So we all ask for your prayers for the family, for all of our family and our children for this coming summer. Thank you, sir.
Acting Mayor Seguir.
Thank you. It's with deep sadness that I want to recognize Mr. Walter Huntz, who was the husband of Gail Huntz, who is a secretary in our city attorney's office for a long time. And not just because of being her husband, Walter and I were good personal friends for many, many, many years. Walter was diagnosed with COPD in 2006 and was only given 3 to 5 years to live. But he had a fighting spirit, and he lived on for an additional 5 years. And on this last May 1st, he lost his battle. Even as he was in his hospice, he was laughing and joking with the attendants there at the hospice center. And he just was a wonderful man. He was very active in the Kenner Lions Club. He was their representative for my Boy Scout troop, which they sponsor. His son was in the troop for a period. So he just goes way back with me, as well as the rest of our families. So I wanted to recognize Walter, now that he's lost his battle, but he gave it a good fight. Thank you.
Councilman DeFrances.
Thank you, Council President. Thank you, Mayor. His son also works in our Recreation Department, I believe, so his entire family has been impacted by this loss. I also would like you all to please keep Rafael Sadi and his family in your prayers. His 30-year-old daughter, Jesibe Sadi, died on Monday. She was only 30 years old. And it breaks your heart when a family has to lose a child. It just breaks your heart. In lieu of flowers, the family is requesting contributions in memory of Jesibe Sadi made to the JPHSA with a memo note that reads, Jeff Care Community Health Center, 3616 South I-10 Service Road, Suite 100 in Metairie, 7001. Also, Grace Hagan, a longtime resident of District 4, her sister died. And again, please keep the Hagan family in your prayers. And finally, Arthur Tadello and his son they've been hospitalized in and out, and the family's going through many health issues. So if you could keep them in your prayers as well, it would be appreciated. Thank you.
Councilman Reyna.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
I also have a special attention, a District 5 resident, Mr. Louis Roussel, who retired from the New Orleans Fire Department after 30 years, and when he retired, he was at the New Orleans airport. So if you could keep his family in your thoughts and prayers. Today is National Day of Prayer, and it is also, we celebrate the ascension of our Lord Jesus Christ. So if we can begin in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. God our Father, make us joyful in the ascension of your Son, Jesus Christ. May we follow him into the new creation, for his ascension is our glory and our hope. We ask this through our Lord Jesus Christ, your Son, who lives and reigns with you and the Holy Spirit, one God, forever and ever. Amen.
Councilman Brennan, will you lead us in the pledge?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum this evening. In accordance with Council Resolution Number B 14550, please be advised that all cellular telephones, pagers, beepers, and other devices of this nature must be deactivated or silenced throughout the council meeting. This evening, we have a request to take item 18A at the beginning of the meeting. Item 18A, at the request of the Council President, Dominic Imbastada, a discussion from Steve Pavlovich, the General Manager of Mosquito Control, who will address the Zika virus and the precautions in place to protect the citizens of our city from this new safety threat.
We need a motion to amend the agenda.
Yes, if I could.
Motion by Councilman Impastato, seconded by Councilman DeFrances to amend the order of business. Councilman, please vote.
Mr. Chairman, motion passes 6-0 to amend the agenda. We are
Yes.
now at item 18A in the agenda, and I believe there is a PowerPoint. If you give us just a second, you can go ahead and speak. They're trying to set it up, if you could.
Sure. Thank you for coming, Mr. Pavlovich. I received a number of calls. Frankly, I guess like all councilmen, my District 5 is bordered by canals, and certainly with the levee and a lot of water around it, there's a major mosquito issue. And so I just asked if we could get a brief synopsis just to kind of hopefully put people to rest and know that our contractors are on top of it and addressing it adequately. And
Yeah, certainly we've had a very warm spring, and as a result of that, it's caused some additional mosquitoes. Most of these mosquitoes, however, are not of concern for disease transmission. These are salt marsh mosquitoes or woodland mosquitoes. They are more pestiferous than some of the bugs that we have, but the concern for the mosquitoes that are could possibly transmit Zika are going to be those ones that are backyard breeders and not the ones that are found in ditches around catch basins out in the marsh. One of the biggest problems we have here in the area of Kenner is the St. Charles Parish Marsh that borders that area to the west by the airport and so forth. And that will, during high tides or big rain events, bring in large numbers of pestiferous mosquitoes that are rather aggressive in nature. Basically, what I'd like to talk about is a little bit about the facts of Zika, let you know certainly the canals, the wooded areas, the ditches aren't really going to be of concern for Zika transmission, but are of concern for pest nuisance mosquitoes. And we had a very mild winter this last year. 2015 was one of the longest mosquito seasons we've had in about 8 or 9 years. We were spraying up until the week of Christmas, which really is unheard of. Generally, we would taper off spraying before Thanksgiving. So the mosquito season last year was quite extended, and as a result of very mild winter conditions, generally we expect to have 2 to 3 weeks of near freezing temperatures, which help to subdue the mosquito population. And then we're probably about a month ahead of what we'd normally expect as far as numbers. One good thing is the mosquitoes that we were concerned about for possible Zika transmission are just starting to appear, and these are the container breeding ones. The people that are going to be exposed to these most in their backyard, they're going to see those little wigglers in the containers, the buckets, the tires, whatever you may have. Basically, Zika virus is a flavivirus. It's not too dissimilar from things such as West Nile, chikungunya, dengue, some of the things that we're commonly hearing. One difference with Zika virus is that it is transmitted between humans and mosquitoes, where West Nile, for example, is maintained among the mosquito and the bird population. The mosquitoes will feed on the birds and then transmit it back to another mosquito. Zika virus is actually maintained in the human population. West Nile, if someone were to contribute or get West Nile, their viremia in their blood is never high enough that they could transmit it back onto a mosquito. This is a little bit different than Zika. Zika is maintained in the human population, picked up by another mosquito, and then can go back off and retransmit the disease. One good thing, out of the 60-something varieties that we have here in Jefferson Parish and throughout Louisiana, only 2 are even probable of carrying the disease. And these are the Asian tiger, called the Aedes albopictus, there on the right, and the yellow fever mosquito, which is the one on the left. These are both container breeding mosquitoes and exclusively container breeding mosquitoes, so that they're only going to be found in those things. Generally, their flight pattern is around 500 to 1,000 feet. So if you're seeing or experiencing these things, they're very anthropophilic. They like to be around humans, and they're not very far from dwelling. So this is not something that you're going to be exposed to out in the woods or in the marsh or on a fishing trip or something like that. Go ahead, Sal. This is currently the geographic distribution of Zika and where it's being transmitted. Currently, we have no Zika transmission in the United States other than sexually. So there's no mosquito-borne transmission of the disease. However, it's not a new disease. It was originally determined and seen in 1947 in the Zika forest of Uganda. It left the African and Asian continent somewhere around 2007. And then we started seeing epidemics in South and Central America in late 2014 and 2015, most notably Brazil, which has had the most number of cases. It is close to the United States. The Commonwealth of Puerto Rico currently has local transmission, as well as some bordering towns in Mexico near Texas. And again, we do have those mosquitoes. The most prevalent mosquito that is the Asian tiger, but it's not the most competent vector of the disease. The yellow fever mosquito is the most competent vector, and we had it up until about the mid-'80s. It's really declined in population, but it's starting to come up. We have seen we've gone through and put a variety of traps out, additional 25 traps here in Jefferson Parish, looking for those particular mosquitoes and looking for those eggs. And we have detected a few of those eggs. And when I say a few, only a few, 2 or 3 eggs here or there. So the populations are starting to come up, but it's very localized in the areas that these particular mosquitoes are. So really the risk is low right now. We don't have a lot of people coming back from these South American and Central American areas that have the disease, but there is potential because people are going on cruises, they're traveling, people are considering going to the Olympics, which are being held in Brazil this year. So there is that potential for those people to bring the disease back with them. Also, that population of those container breeders doesn't really ramp up for about another month or so, when and if it does, the population, depending on if the yellow fever mosquito is the most common vector in this area to transmit the disease, will have much less of an opportunity. But if the Asian tiger mosquito, which is in everybody's backyard, is a competent vector in this area, then we have much more potential. Another thing that's different from the areas of Brazil is basically the climate that we live in. Most of our houses are air conditioned. They fit sort of tightly. The screens are closed in, the doors and so forth. So we're not getting a lot of these container breeding mosquitoes into the house. But in areas that, like Brazil, they have the containers around, they're growing food and a lot of flower pots, and those areas are breeding sites. The mosquitoes are very high and plentiful, especially the yellow fever mosquito, and they're easily coming in and out of the houses, and that was the main reason for the transmission of that disease there. It's a very mild disease. Generally, only 18% of people would even know they had the disease. The concern is not for an adult contracting the disease. Most people wouldn't even know they had it, and those people that do indicate that they have some type of ailment would just know it as maybe nondescript flu-like symptoms, joint pain, headaches, conjunctivitis, a reddening around the eyes, and sometimes a small rash on the torso. This could be confused for many different diseases. That person is only generally viremic or having enough virus in their blood to be transmitting the disease for about 7 to maybe 10 days when another mosquito could bite onto them. Again, we're living here more indoors, but these mosquitoes tend to bite during the twilight hours and even in the day when you've got a shaded area, so there is potential for them to bite you at that time. But the big concern is something called microcephaly, and it is a birth defect that pregnant women who get Zika or manifest Zika during the first trimester end up having gestational problems and neurological problems in the child, and that is due to a small head in the fetus, and then some other issues that affect the central nervous system. So it is a big concern because of that particular aspect. There are some limiting factors of the disease, and they've seen that even in the later gestational period, the second and third trimester, that there can be neurological issues, but they're not as profound. What we're doing, one of the things that we've done, and I mentioned a little bit earlier, is we're putting out additional traps looking specifically for these container breeding mosquitoes. On the bottom right is one of these traps. It's a simple type of trap. It is what we call an ovi trap, looking for ovi meaning eggs. And we've put 25 additional of these traps out in Jefferson Parish. We had already had 25. We're keeping some stationary. We're moving the rest around. We are constantly monitoring the city of Kenner. In fact, there's 5 of those out there right now in each one of the districts that are being moved, and an additional 5 that are stationary in the areas. Once a week, we bring those stick that is detecting the mosquito eggs back to the lab. They count the number of mosquito eggs, try to speciate it. Often they cannot speciate what type of eggs are on there, so we break the sticks in half, put them in an emergence chamber, give it a little bit of dog food to raise the mosquito larvae into adults, and then identify the mosquito adults once they've emerged. So from this, we can quantify what the population is. We can target areas with extra inspections and extra public education. One of the things I've got here, and we can pass them out afterwards, on the top right-hand corner, is we're also putting out public information, giving people an indication of what Zika is, what to be concerned about, how to help us by helping themselves and eliminating mosquito breeding around the yard. We've put these at gas stations, libraries, public buildings, those type of things in a little holder, but anybody who would like them, we can also get them off the website or pass them out. And in addition to that, we've developed a Zika response protocol, which is a modified a West Nile response protocol, so that it has spraying with it where we would treat every drain and ditch in the area, which really aren't going to be of concern for Zika transmission, but it's a preventative measure. Do truck spraying and then also go door to door, knocking on doors, trying to get into people's backyards should we have a disease coming into the area. And eventually we will be having some traveler or somebody that's gone on a cruise or a missionary mission come back to the area, and we'll respond prophylactically to the disease so that we preclude the chances or reduce the chances for transmission. Yeah, and this is talking about that particular protocol, the response. Additional door hangers would be put out, another type of pamphlet asking people to help us by eliminating things around the yard, and then a regimented follow-up with trucks and follow-up traps to determine and testing. We would then collect those mosquitoes, send those mosquitoes onto the state lab, and then test them in our own laboratory for the Zika virus. And the last thing that I really wanted to talk about is asking residents to police their own yards. Anything as small as a bottle cap of water could possibly breed mosquitoes. Here's some pictures of those things. And one of the biggest culprits is things like tires, 5-gallon buckets. These things by themselves, one of these containers could breed 1,000 mosquitoes that could potentially transmit Zika. Bird baths, flower pots, pools are of concern more for the mosquitoes that transmit West Nile, but the smaller things that you would have out there, including clogged gutters, you need to make sure that you're taking care of your own yard and reducing the possibility for these particular mosquitoes. And make sure, again, that your house is mosquito-proof, that doors and windows fit tightly, that screens are in good repair, and that also if you're going to be exposed to those times or you're seeing these little black mosquitoes in your yard, to use or consider the use of repellent, and then use those repellents, whatever they may be. The CDC and the Department of Health recommend that they either be DEET or something with Percardin or maybe IR 3535, but use those things according to the label directions. And I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have at this time. I know that my time was sort of limited.
Thank you, Mr. Pavlovich. I see Councilman Carroll. Councilman Carroll, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Pavlovich, thank you for coming today, and also thank Councilman Epistato for inviting you. I think this information is obviously important to everyone. We're getting into the summer season. You know, children will be playing baseball to the recreation department, and just being outside more, like you said. A number of us have district that we represent that borders the St. Charles Parish line and the marsh area. So to be able to get this information is important. I know you said it travels within 1,000 feet and is transmitted via mosquito to human being as opposed to mosquito like the West Nile. That being said, as far as if it bites someone, how is it transmitted? I mean, once they bite a human, and you say it's from human to human, how is it transmitted? What should we do? Wash our hands?
Oh, no.
What is it? How is it transmitted through a household?
It's not transmitted from humans to humans. It's
Okay.
it's transmitted from a mosquito to a human, back to a mosquito, and then to another human. Where West Nile, for example, we're called a dead-end host, meaning that the amount of virus in our bloodstream never reaches a high enough titer to where the mosquito could bite you and then retransmit it on. And that period is only about 5 to 10 days. 7 to 10 days is the peak activity period or the peak time that you could have enough virus in your blood. But one thing to your point about those marsh mosquitoes and the most pestiferous mosquitoes, those mosquitoes are not going to be transmitting Zika virus. It's really limited to these 2 mosquitoes that are backyard container breeders, these little black striped mosquitoes. Both of them are very dark black. They have white stripes on them, and those are the ones that we're concerned about for Zika transmission. The ones that are very pestiferous, the very aggressive salt marsh woodland mosquitoes, the ones that we're getting following these big rains, the general population can't tell the difference, but if you're sitting in your backyard and you're seeing these little mosquitoes that are flying around, generally at knee height or lower, they tend to bite low on the body. These are not the ones that are flying at your face that are very aggressive. These particular mosquitoes are backyard, sort of docile, and limited flight range.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for clearing up. I got a little bit of it confused, but I appreciate that. Also, I'd like to give you my card. If you can email me the presentation that you did here today, I would appreciate that.
Sure.
To be able to facilitate it to other people within the community.
Sure, and that's one of the things we've been doing as well is trying to get the message out by giving presentations around the area.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. President.
Councilman Klein, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Pavlovich, what I've read and seen on TV, it seems like it affects, I believe, the pregnant mothers. Does it affect adult men and adult women that are not pregnant? And please explain that to me if you can.
It does affect them. You can contract the disease. Adults can contract it. Very few of those people, 18% or less, would have any symptoms at all. And those symptoms would include a headache, flu-like symptoms, maybe a mild rash on the torso of the body. It remains to be seen whether there are long-term effects. There has been a possible link with something called Guillain-Barré syndrome amongst adults, which is a generalized neurologic disease. But for the most part, what we know currently is that the Zika virus is not fatal to these adults or, older people that would contract the disease, and that it passes within about 7 to 10 days. That being said, the big concern, of course, is for those people who are pregnant or are thinking about becoming pregnant, because it can have drastic effects on the unborn fetus. And one other caveat, we have had cases that have come back to the United States, and some have come back to the here locally, but not to Jefferson Parish, but to Louisiana. And there has been transmission of the disease sexually. And that disease, for the most part, has been from male to the female partner. And they have found in the initial studies that the Zika virus can survive and be virulent enough or a high enough viremia for more than 60 days or more than 2 months to be transmitted on to that female partner. So that is of concern if somebody's going to be traveling down to the tropics or to South America, bring that disease back. The husband has gone on a business trip, brought back the disease, and the wife is either pregnant or they're thinking about getting pregnant, and he transmits the disease onto her.
Okay, so you could have significant effects up to 60 days?
Well, that's what they're saying right now, at least for 60 days. So I think the CDC recommendation is somewhere that the men that have gone to that place be consider being tested, but in addition to that, just as a precautionary measure, to use condoms or other prophylactic that would prevent those women from having abstinence.
Okay. Yeah, excuse me, I didn't get the information correctly, but is it up to 60 days or at least 60 days?
At least 60 days.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pavlovich.
Thank you.
And thank you for agreeing to spray District 5 3 times as much as every other district. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk.
Yes, sir. The consent agenda this evening, we have item 1, approval of minutes, the regular council meeting of April 21st, 2016. Item 2 is approval of alcoholic beverage permit applications. Item 2A is a resolution granting an alcoholic beverage permit to Lake Pontchartrain Basin Foundation on May 22nd, 2016 at Lake Town in Kenner, Louisiana. Item 2B is a resolution granting an alcoholic beverage permit to Celebracion Hispana de Kenner Incorporated on June 11th, 2016 and June 12th, 2016 at Kenner, Lake Town, West Peninsula in Kenner, Louisiana. Item 3 is approval of bingo and public gathering applications. Item 3A is application number 1945-16, Popeyes to hold a public gathering on May 18, 2016, from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. for the purpose of a company picnic at Veterans Park in Kenner, Louisiana. Item 3B is application number 1947-16, Herzing University to hold a public gathering on May 17, 2016, from 8:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. for the purpose of a student appreciation event at 2500 Williams Boulevard in Kenner, Louisiana. Item 3C is application number 1948-16, Celebracion Hispana de Kenner Incorporated to hold a public gathering on June 11th and June 12th, 2016, from 2 p.m. to 11 p.m. for the purpose of a 6th Kenner Hispanic Summerfest at Kenner Lake Town, West Peninsula. Item 3D is application number 1951-16, Little Zion Missionary Baptist Church to hold a public gathering on May 9th through May 12th, 2016, from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. for the purpose of a tent revival at 2200 Kenner Avenue in Kenner, Louisiana. Item 3E is application number 1953-16, Mitchell Brothers and Sons Amusements Incorporated to hold a public gathering on May 18th through May 22nd, 2016, from 5 p.m. to 11 p.m. for the purpose of a carnival at the Esplanade Mall in Kenner, Louisiana. That will conclude your consent agenda this evening, sir.
Motion by Councilman Reyno, seconded by Councilman Brennan. Seeing no discussion, Councilman, please vote.
Mr. Chairman, motion passes 6-0. Under the public appearance agenda this evening, we have item 9, public hearings for final passage. Item 9 is public hearings for final passage. Item 9 is a public hearing regarding Resolution Number B16685, a resolution calling a public hearing on April 7, 2016, to determine whether the structure located at 2601 Phoenix Street in Kenner, Louisiana shall be abated by repair, rehabilitation, demolition, or removal. Mr. Chairman, I have a request for a one-meeting deferral, please.
Motion by Councilman Klein to defer item 9A for one meeting, seconded by Councilman Carroll. Councilman, please vote on the deferral.
Mr. Chairman, motion passes 6-0. Item 9B is a public hearing regarding Resolution Number B16686, a resolution calling a public hearing on May 5, 2016, to determine whether the structure located at 1007 Moisant Street in Kenner, Louisiana shall be abated by repair, rehabilitation, demolition, or removal.
Motion by Councilman Carroll, seconded by Councilman Reno. Seeing no discussion, Councilman, please vote.
This would be to open your hearing, please. Mr. Chairman, your motion passes 6-0 to open your hearing.
At this time, this is the public appearance part of the agenda. If there's anyone in the public wishing to speak on item 9B, please come forward and be heard. Do we have a presentation?
Yes, sir. The structure in question is an elevated structure on pilasters with a municipal address of 1007 Moisant Drive. Property is owned by Mr. and Mrs. Jimmy Boudreau. It was determined that the property was unsafe and dangerous under the building codes for the city of Kenner, as well as section 5-57 at all of the code and of ordinances for the city of Kenner. Notice was sent via certified mail to the property owners advising them of the property and the building violations, and after no response from the owners, a curator was appointed by the city. As of this date, the violations have not been corrected, nor have there been any attempts to comply, at least not that we've seen. The city has been maintaining the property for several years, and there is currently an amount owed of approximately $10,540 to the city of Kenner. City also contacted the services of an engineer, and it is noted by the report of the engineer retained by the city, who provided the following reasons of inadequate maintenance, dilapidation, abandonment. Structures abandoned, portions of the roof sheathing on the main structure have rotted, thus exposing the interior to the elements. Exterior walls have signs of wood rot or termite damage. The structure has an addition at the rear which has major structural issues. There's evidence of termite infestation, and the roof has collapsed in the rear addition, compromising structural stability. A section of the west wall of the structure, the addition is separated from the building and is hanging precariously. I went out and took the pictures. I could have got in, but I wouldn't walk in. It was that dangerous. So based on the report of the engineer, the structure is a serious public hazard and is structurally compromised. Based on the visual observations, the structure is a hazard, and we recommend that the city take steps to declare it a public nuisance and have it abated by demolition or brought up to current city codes and ordinances. And we do have our curator also, sir.
Will the curator come forward, please?
John W. Becknell III, 3445 North Causeway Boulevard, Suite 736, Metairie, Louisiana, 7002. I was appointed curator ad hoc for the absent defendants, Margaret Matlock, wife of, and Jimmy Joseph Boudreau, to act as their agent to accept service and to attempt to locate the absent defendants. And I'd like to file my note of evidence as follows. That being appointed curator ad hoc, curator caused to be run in the Times-Picayune newspaper the following ad to wit. Anyone knowing the whereabouts of Margaret Matlock and/or Jimmy Joseph Boudreau, please contact John W. Becknell III, attorney, at 504-833-7325. Said ad ran February 28th, March 2nd, and March 4th, 2016. The certificate of publication is attached hereto as Curator's Exhibit A. Curator also ran an internet search to obtain additional information regarding the whereabouts of the absent defendants, which provided Curator with 2 additional addresses possibly belonging to the absent defendants. Curator then sent certified letters to the absent defendants at 1007 Moisant Street, Kenner, Louisiana, 70062, 5301 Shamrock Drive, Kenner, Louisiana, 70065, 4515 Orleans Boulevard, Jefferson, Louisiana, 70121, and P.O. Box 492, Madisonville, Louisiana 70447, with a copy of the prior correspondence sent to the absent defendants by the City of Kenner and a copy of the code violations affecting their property located at 1007 Moisant Street, Kenner, Louisiana 70062, enclosed. Said letters are attached here too as Curator's Exhibit B. On March 26, 2016, the letter sent to 4515 Orleans Boulevard, Jefferson, Louisiana 70121 was claimed. The letter sent to 1007 Moisant Street, Kenner, Louisiana 70062, 5301 Shamrocks Drive, Kenner, Louisiana 70065, and P.O. Box 492, Madisonville, Louisiana 70447 were returned to Curator unclaimed. Said letters are attached here too as Curator's Exhibit C. On March 29, 2016, Curator met with a Barbara Boudreau, who claimed the letter sent to 4515 Orleans Boulevard, Jefferson, Louisiana 70121. Barbara Boudreau informed Curator that she has no relation to nor knows of the whereabouts of the absent defendants. Additionally, the City of Kenner mailed Mennonite letters to Austin Sales and Service, Inc. and Imperial Builders, Inc. on January 28, 2016, both of which were returned unclaimed. The Mennonite letters are attached here too as Curator's Exhibit D. To date, Curator has received no response whatsoever from the absent defendants. On information and belief, Curator ad hoc's duties have been fulfilled, and invoice detailing expenses incurred in connection with Curator ad hoc's duties in this matter is attached here too as Curator's Exhibit B. Curator ad hoc now desires to be relieved of any further duties in this matter, and that the party requesting the appointment of the service of a Curator ad hoc be ordered to reimburse Curator ad hoc's expenses and fees. Wherefore, Curator ad hoc prays that this note of evidence be admitted into the above entitled record, that Curator ad hoc be relieved of any further duties in this matter, and that the party requesting the appointment of the services of a Curator ad hoc be ordered to reimburse the Curator ad hoc's expenses and fees. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Becknell. Is there anyone in the audience wishing to address the council regarding item 9B? Seeing none, I have a motion by Councilman Carroll, seconded by Councilman Reyno to close public hearing. Councilman, please vote.
Mr. Chairman, motion passes 6-0.
Motion by Councilman Carroll, seconded by Councilman Reyno to approve. Seeing no discussion, Councilman, please vote.
Mr. Chairman, motion passes 6-0. Item 9C is a public hearing regarding summary ordinance number 12,022, an ordinance granting Entergy Louisiana LLC a right-of-way, servitude, and easement over, under, across, and on Gordon Avenue in that area known as Hanson Place subdivision between Square 11 and Square 12, bounded by Airline Drive, Alliance Street, and the Kansas City Southern Railroad for the location, construction, improvements, repairs, operation, and maintenance of electric power and communication facilities and providing for related matters.
Motion by Councilman Carroll, seconded by Councilman Brennan to open public hearing. Councilman, please vote.
Mr. Chairman, motion passes 6-0 to open your hearing.
Is there any presentation?
No, sir, not that I'm aware of tonight.
At this time, we are still in the public appearance part of the agenda. If there's anyone in the public wishing to address the council on item 9C, please come forward at this time and be heard. Seeing none, motion by Councilman Carroll, seconded by Councilman Brennan to close public hearing. Councilman, please vote.
Mr. Chairman, motion passes 6-0.
Motion by Councilman Carroll, seconded by Councilman Brennan to approve. Seeing no discussion, Councilman, please vote.
Mr. Chairman, motion passes 6-0. Item 9D is a public hearing regarding summary ordinance number 12,041, an ordinance approving the sale of Lot 1A of Parcel C, Canes Brule subdivision, Kenner, Jefferson Parish, Louisiana, which said property is owned by the city of Kenner. Mr. Chairman, we've received a request to defer this item for one meeting.
Yeah, motion by Councilman Klein to defer item 9D for one meeting, seconded by Councilman DeFrances. Seeing no discussion, Councilman, please vote on the deferral.
Mr. Chairman, motion passes 6-0. Item 9E is a public hearing regarding summary ordinance number 12,044, an ordinance amending the 2015-2016 operating budget to reallocate $55,668 from a vacant position in the council office to the Kenner Police Department and the Fire Department capital accounts.
Have a motion by Councilman DeFrances, seconded by Councilman Brennan to open public hearing. Councilman, please vote. Again, we were in the public appearance part of the agenda. Oh, pardon me. Go ahead.
Okay. Your motion passes 6-0.
Again, we are in the public appearance part of the agenda. If there's anyone in the public wishing to address the council on item 9E, please come forward at this time and be heard. Seeing none, motion by Councilman DeFrances, seconded by Councilman Brennan to close public hearing. Councilman, please vote.
Mr. Chairman, motion passes 6-0.
Motion by Councilman DeFrances, seconded by Councilman Brennan. Seeing no, to approve, seeing no discussion, Councilman, please vote.
Mr. Chairman, motion passes 6-0. Item 10 is opening of bids. We have none. Item 11 is reclassification of zoning for final passage. We have none. Item 12 is other ordinances for final passage. We have none. Item 13 is resolutions and motions by council members. Item 13A is a resolution approving the submission of an application and request for funding to the Louisiana Department of Transportation and Development for the Safe Routes to School program to improve pedestrian safety to Chateau Estates Elementary School.
Motion by Councilman Klein, seconded by Councilman Reno. Seeing no discussion, Councilman, please vote.
Mr. Chairman, motion passes 6-0. Item 13B is a resolution certifying the compliance with public bid laws for bids received on January 21st, 2016, under sealed bid number 15-6308 for the construction of drainage improvements to University City subdivision area, Phase 2, Millsaps Place, Tulane Drive to West Louisiana State Drive, State Project Number H.010107, City of Kenner Project Number 2014-002B-RB.
Motion by Councilman Impastato, seconded by Councilman Brennan. Mr. Gonzalez, I'd just like to confirm, this is the Phase 2 drainage project in University City, correct?
That's correct.
Part of the multi-million-dollar drainage improvements being done in University City?
Part of a three-phase project.
Right.
We will soon be designing Phase 3. This is a requirement of the statewide flood control program that we send them a certified,
Right.
resolution that we have followed bid laws.
And just in case anyone's watching and is interested, we're set to begin construction when?
I think within,
Might have already started, huh?
within a week,
Yeah.
10 days.
what I
I'm going to send you an email on that tomorrow.
Yeah, any day now, though. I know
Yes.
we had the public meeting
I
about
think
it.
it's 7 to 10 days they should
Okay.
be starting.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you again for all your work. Seeing no other discussion, Councilman, please vote.
Mr. Chairman, motion passes 6-0. Item 13C is a resolution calling a public hearing on May 19, 2016, to determine whether the structure located at 636-638 Taylor Street in Kenner, Louisiana, shall be abated by repair, rehabilitation, demolition, or removal.
Motion by Councilman Carroll, seconded by Councilman Reno. Seeing no discussion, Councilman, please vote.
Mr. Chairman, motion passes 6-0. Item 14 is items removed from the consent agenda. We have none tonight. Item 15 is acceptance of contracts and similar matters approved by the mayor. Item 15A is summary ordinance number 12,045, an ordinance ratifying the proposal from AMRISC LP for the renewal of commercial property insurance for the period of June 1st, 2016 through June 1st, 2017.
Motion by Councilman Brennan, seconded by Councilman Reno. Councilman Reno, you have the floor.
Mr. Quigley, this renewal is less than what we paid last year, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And what is the savings we're going to have?
Okay, well, it's my understanding there's going to be an amendment. So if, with the amendment, it would be around $44,000.
Okay. And are there any additional properties that the city owns that are in this that weren't in last year's?
No, this is the same schedule as we had last year.
Okay. That was my only question. Thank you.
And I have
an amendment?
Yes, I have the amendment. As per the administration, we will be changing the amount to $484,721.55. If I could get a motion and a second on the amendment.
Motion by Councilman Brennan, seconded by Councilman Reno on the amendment. Seeing no discussion, Councilman, please vote on the amendment.
Mr. Chairman, motion passes 6-0 on your amendment.
Seeing no further discussion, Councilman, please vote on the original legislation as amended.
Mr. Chairman, motion passes 6-0. Item 15B, summary ordinance number 12,046. An ordinance approving an agreement with the firm of Burke Klein Peter Incorporated for professional services associated with Veterans Boulevard lighting, Airport to Loyola Drive, state project number H.010973.5, federal aid project number H.010973, City of Kenner project number 2014-008-SL.
Motion by Councilman Carroll, seconded by Councilman DeFrances. Councilman Carroll, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Gonzalez, could you tell us for the public to know exactly what area we're talking about from the airport to Loyola, which connects with Councilman Impostata District? What area are we talking about specifically?
We're calling, this particular project covers the area of Veterans Boulevard from the airport, or roughly from Virginia Avenue all the way to Loyola. The project the design services is being financed with 80% federal funds.
And this, we had to pay 20%, obviously, from the City of Kenner.
20% for the $231,000 and some change that is required to pay for the firm for their services. By the way, the firm was selected by the DOTD, not the City of Kenner. And in all likelihood, the lighting is going to be installed in the medium of Veterans Boulevard.
Yeah, is there a schedule for, the services have to be done first, but for the work itself, is there a tentative, not really tentative, but a schedule that we think we were talking about, the work to be done?
Since we're dealing with federal funds, and we would have to deal with the DOTD, in all likelihood, work will not be starting for another 2 years.
2 years. Okay. Okay, well, thank you very much, Mr. Gonzalez. Thank you, Mr. President.
Seeing no further discussion, Councilman, please vote.
Mr. Chairman, motion passes 6-0. Item 15C is summary ordinance number 12,047. An ordinance authorizing a cost per copy lease agreement with U.S. Copy Incorporated for photocopy, fax, printing equipment, maintenance, parts, labor, and supplies for a term of 3 years for the Kenner Police Department.
Motion by Councilman Brennan, seconded by Councilman Reno. Seeing no discussion, Councilman, please vote.
Mr. Chairman, motion passes 6-0. Item 15D is summary ordinance number 12,048, an ordinance authorizing the utilization of state contract number 4400002671 to purchase 7 high-resolution color cameras, including all mounting hardware and installation from BITS Technical Company, LLC, in the amount of $7,952 for the Kenner Police Department.
Motion by Councilman Reno, seconded by Councilman Brennan. Seeing no discussion, Councilman, please vote.
Mr. Chairman, motion passes 6-0. Item 15E is summary ordinance number 12,049, an ordinance accepting the lowest responsive bid received from Taylor Power Systems for preventative maintenance service contract for emergency generators in accordance with seal bid number 16-6326 in an amount not to exceed $75,000 annually for the Department of Public Works.
Motion by Councilman Klein, seconded by Councilman Reno. Councilman Reno has requested the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Gonzalez, this contract is for maintenance only on those generators. Is that correct?
That is correct. Preventive maintenance only. And there are some repair components, but those repair components will be minor in nature, only if need be, and they will not be electrical repair. All the electrical repairs that may be required will be provided either by the City of Kenner or a contractor that the City of Kenner will hire independently. Most likely, the repair work on electrical components will be performed by the city.
Okay. I just wanted to clarify that because there was some question as to whether they needed to have a state license. And as a state license holder in mechanical, unless you're replacing something in excess of $10,000, which in this case you're not, it's strictly a maintenance contract. Although they may have some other repairs, it's more of a repair contract. They're not replacing any generators or, it's just maintenance and repairs on the generators.
We had an electrical component at one time under the terms of this agreement, and it was taken out for this particular bid. So we have had problems when we bid this particular contract last time. So the electrical component has been taken out of the picture. If we do some mechanical work, it will be on an as-needed basis, and it will be limited. It will be work that the city cannot perform, but the electrical work is going to be performed by the city.
Okay, great. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. President.
Sure. Councilman Carroll, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Gonzalez, just want to know, how many generators are we talking about in total?
In total, we have 19 portable generators and 30 generators on site at different locations: sewer lift stations, firehouses, police department, buildings.
Okay, so it pretty much encompasses the whole city and every aspect of an emergency and the
Pretty much.
contract, pretty much. And do we exceed, is this a typical amount to have for a year or two contract? And did we exceed it last year or?
Actually, we have a better bid this time than what we had last time. And no, we haven't exceeded the amount. The amount that we have is an absolute max, okay? And we normally put an absolute max just to cover, for any emergency situations. Heaven forbid we have a hurricane and we need to use the generators for days, weeks, or months. We would want someone to help us with the maintenance aspect or with, the checking. So the amount that we put in there on a yearly basis is not a reflection of the bid.
Okay.
The maintenance-related work is only $23,000 per year. If we activate any minor repair work that the city cannot perform, it will be an additional $10,000, making the total $33,000 per year. We're not anticipating a lot of repair work. We're just going to concentrate on the components that relate to maintenance.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Thank you, Mr. President.
Seeing no further discussion, Councilman, please vote.
Mr. Chairman, motion passes 6-0. Item 16 is ordinances and resolutions in summary for first reading. Item 16A is an ordinance adopting the operating budget for the City of Kenner for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2016, and ending June 30th, 2017, and providing for related matters. Item 16B is an ordinance accepting the lowest responsive bid received from Louisiana CAT in the amount of $86,211 for the purchase of one 420 F2 tractor, loader, backhoe, or equal in accordance with seal bid number 16-6341 for the Department of Public Works Division of Streets and Drainage. Item 16C is an ordinance amending ordinance number 10,847, which approved and accepted a servitude by Allstate Financial Company to the City of Kenner on a portion of parcel 1A, being a portion of Canal Number 5, north of Square 159, Kenner Heights subdivision, for installation and maintenance of sewage facilities for the 10th and Maria Street Lift Station and Force Main Sewer Improvement Project, to provide for the creation of a temporary construction servitude in order to determine the exact location for the perpetual pre-dial servitude. Item 16D is an ordinance amending the Kenner Code of Ordinances, Chapter 15, Traffic and Motor Vehicles, Article 3, Inspection of Motor Vehicles, Section 15-34, to provide for eligibility and option of a two-certificate of mechanical inspection for motor vehicles and providing for related matters. Item 17 is reports from the council and/or special committees.
Yes. Acting Mayor and Councilman for District 2, Segura, has asked to speak.
Thank you, Mr. President. First off, I'd just like to, comment how in this community, the New Orleans region, that this time of the year we have a lot of fairs, festivals, and a lot of music going on. We just finished, New Orleans finished with the Jazz Fest this last weekend, and unfortunately, the weather didn't cooperate with them. But In that light, the city of Kenner would like to announce the kickoff of its Music in the Park, starting tomorrow night at 6:30 in Rivertown, and the Top Cats will be playing, and this will continue every Friday night during the month of May. Also, on Saturday night will be movies in the park, and we'll also continue every night through the month of May with various other movies. We encourage everyone to bring their families, come on out, and enjoy them, whether it be the music or the movies. And this weekend, I think it's pretty well assured it won't rain. So we're hoping to have a better luck than the Jazz Fest did, but that's what the weather people are saying, that it won't rain this weekend. Next, I'd just like to also mention and comment that this week is the National Police Correctional Officer Week, and this is the group of individuals who maintain our jails and prisons. Right now, the city jail, which our chief runs for us, he has a group of professional correctional officers in there, and like to recognize them this week during the National Police Correctional Officers Week. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Klein, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to announce that Mitchell Brothers Amusements will have a carnival at the Esplanade Mall from May 18, 2016 through to May 22, 2016. The last carnival was a couple years ago. It was a highly successful event. They have rides, they have games. It's great for the children, great for families to come out there, and I would encourage everyone to come to the Esplanade Mall to the carnival May 18th through May 22nd. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman DeFrances, you have the floor.
Thank you, Council President. Also in Rivertown, the Rivertown Theater is going to have How to Succeed in Business Without Really Trying at the Rivertown Theater for the Performing Arts. It will be on Friday at 8 p.m., beginning on Friday at 8 p.m., and it's a great performance, I'm sure, because they've always had great theater at that since its inception. And also, we have our regular Saturday Rivertown Farmers Market. So again, we'd like to encourage people to go there, and again, to remind everyone about recycling that has begun. It's on the second garbage day, so that means it will either be Thursday, Friday, or Saturday, depending upon your second garbage day. And finally, I think Ms. Leone wanted to mention something about the Youth Advisory Council. With your permission, Council President.
She can always have the mic.
Thank you, Council President. Just wanted to let everybody know that we have extended the deadline for the Mayor Youth Advisory Council applications. Originally, we were set to do that on May 6th, which was this Friday. However, knowing that this is a busy time for all of our high school students, we've extended it through May 11th. We've already started receiving some applications, so we're hoping to get quite a bit more.
Thank you. Madam Clerk?
Yes, item 18 is new business we took early in the meeting. Item 19 is unfinished business and motions to reconsider or remove from the tabled position. We have none tonight. Item 20 is persons wishing to address the council on special subject matters.
I believe it's Mr. Francis Lato. Name and address, please.
Francis Lito, number 7 Charlene Court, Kenner, Louisiana. I was just talking to Bill Duplantis, the director, about this pipe that they were looking into on Massachusetts Street that runs on a dead-end street. And ever since they started surveying it with the cameras and that, it's got a breakage in the drain or something, and we're getting flood waters back there on Charlene's Court because it's a low street. And Bill told me I wanted to come in to talk about it, but Bill said to come talk to him. And this gentleman here, we're going to talk to him about it, that it's flooding back there. Because the last 3 rains we had, I had to call the city of Kenner, Jefferson Parish, and ask them to turn the pumps on. because I had 2 inches of water on my patio. And we never did have that kind of water back there since that street, that culvert, that's sinking. Now, I don't know how bad it is back there, but they could have a sinkhole back there, soon, because the water's been stopping and flooding back and getting ready to come into my house. But another thing about that, people have been cutting grass, and I don't know, I think y'all got a law about you can't blow the grass down the drains and all back up in there. That's just what they doing. They blowing the grass, people are cutting grass and blowing it down in the drains, and that's a problem too. The pipes are getting clogged up. But one other thing, I want to tell John Helmers that I want to thank him that 2 of the 5 plugs that are leaking on 34th Street that they fixed. The streets are not flooded no more, but I think what they ought to do when they play soccer net back there, I think they ought to put 2 pipes around them fire hydrants, because they hit them and they're going to wind up getting busted again, getting broke, and y'all going to have the streets flooding back there. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Next is Al. I can't read the last name.
That's okay. If you can't read the last
Morella.
name, you know the voice, Dominic.
Welcome back, Al.
Yes, sir. Al Morella, 4260 East Loyola Drive, 5th District, 44 years. I want to respond to an article in this month's issue of the Kenner Star, and this article was written by Alan Katz. And I do not accept his assessment as to how safe our city is in the category of violent crime. He got his information off of a website called In Our State, and this assessment was based on the month of February, which was 3 months ago, where there was no violent crime taking place in the city of Kenner. But Mr. Katz left out the month of April, just last month. The double homicide on Idaho Street. To echo what Councilman Carroll here said at the beginning of the meeting, the young lady whose life was tragically cut short. My prayers go out to her family as well, Councilman Carroll, over 1 Phoenix Street. And now they still haven't determined where she was murdered at, but that's neither here nor there. The young lady's life is gone, and she was a resident in Kenner. And third, the young man, 18 years old, trying to break up a fight, a brawl on Newport Street in Beachview Heights. 18 years old, shot in the face. And I hope he's recovering. I hope he's having a speedy recovery. Now, I've always believed that the Kenner Star was a biased publication, and its main focus was to promote political careers down here. And anybody can correct me if I'm wrong, but I do believe that the citizens of Kenner pay for that publication at the tune of what I heard, $40,000 a year. Now, if that's inaccurate, somebody can correct me. I stand for correction.
It's not.
Okay. Second, the investigative report on Fox 8 News about the healthcare providers, where they call it a clawback, where the copays that people are paying to certain providers are 4 times what the prescription actually cost. So if anybody is caught up in this, whether it be the citizenry or any of our employees, I just want to mention this. I'm sure, look at the copays and try to find out if you caught up in this, and I'm sure there's a number, someone you can call to report this. Investigative report. That's all I have. Anybody got any comments, any questions? Thank you.
Thank you. Miss Jackie Brown?
Yes, good evening. I'm Pastor Jacqueline Brown, Cockerham Brown. And I just have 2 concerns, very important concerns. One is about the dredging of the canal bank at the back of Decatur Street and the airport Access Road. As I look at this dredging, and I do have pictures, and I wish all of you will get a chance to look at it, look at these pictures that I have. Nobody hand is ready for anything? Because I'm ready to present. Thank you, sir. But the dredging that's occurring is on an angle that is taking away the bank on the residential side. I'm not a physics major, but I really believe that because the airport side of the street or of that canal bank has remained intact and is higher now than the other side, the residential side, that when water flows off from the airport lane, it's going to come into our residential area. We have never had flooding there. I've been there about 7 years. The other residents say that they have never had flooding on that block. But I'm believing that something is going to happen if there's an overflow of water. There are two big tanks that are sitting at the foot of Decatur Street on the airport side, and they are constantly, seems like pulling water off of the land into the canal, and then something is overflowing. I don't know what it is. I'm assuming it's water that's overflowing out of those tanks. I see it as a problem. Maybe someone can help me correct it, give me a sense of confidence about what the city is doing right now to protect us and to give us some kind of security that we won't have floodwaters coming back there. All night before last, and since they've been working there, we hear the boom and the boom and the boom, all this thumping. We hear the trucks moving, and this is happening like late at night, like 10, sometimes later. The other thing that I have concern with is on day before yesterday, Tuesday, I'm thinking it was, where we had all these dump trucks that came in with this black sewage-smelling water. And they dumped the mud, because it's not soil or dirt, it was mud, and it had a stench to it. And it was dumped at the corner of Decatur and 27th Street. We had chunks, big hunks of mud in the street that we had to pass through
Ma'am, I hate
and get
to-
around it.
Your time has expired.
Okay, but look at the pictures and tell me if you would want to be in that situation, you would want your neighborhood to be in that situation. To this point, they have cleaned the street, but no telling what else is going to happen.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
Thank you for coming.
Should I wait on my pictures?
Councilman Carroll?
or Just somebody return them
I
to
can,
me?
Councilman Carroll has the floor.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. President. And Minister Brown, thank you very much for showing me the pictures. You know, just full disclosure, you and I did speak yesterday as related to both of the incidents. First, I'm going to address the embankment for the dredging. Is there something you wanted to say?
Let me say before you start, I want to thank you for responding to my phone call.
Well, thank you for telling me, and I appreciate letting me know, because, you know, if people don't say things, sometimes it will never get addressed. I haven't had an opportunity to speak with Mr. Gonzalez as it relates to I'm not an engineer either as far as the dredging, and if he would like to address it now, for sure. If he does not have the information, obviously I will ask him to go out and take a look at this and let us know about that. Mr. Gonzalez, would you like to address now, or this is something that you do not have the actual information or the facts that's required to answer, Ms. Brown?
No, at this point in time, I do not have the information, but I will be glad to go out there and take a look at conditions. But any dredging that is taking place within a drainage canal is something that is being performed by the Jefferson Parish Drainage Department, because drainage canals are under the jurisdiction of Jefferson Parish Drainage and not the city of Kenner. But I will be glad to visit the site, evaluate conditions, and then report to the Jefferson Parish Drainage Department for input.
Yes, and thank you. And just let me know once you speak to the gentleman from Jefferson Parish, to let me know, so I can let Ms. Brown know also. And also, Ms. Brown, as it related to the street with the soot, the mud and the dirt, you called me. I took a ride out there. I spoke with the gentleman from Code, they had gone out there and spoke to the contractors and informed them to make sure that there were mud in the street and that they had to clean it up. When I got out there, it was clean. I didn't see any large pieces of mud and everything. It was clean. And I actually didn't smell anything either. I mean, you'd have to go literally on the project itself to smell something. Obviously, at that time that you're talking about,
Absolutely.
it was more defined.
Yeah, you all
but
came later.
I came later, but
And sand was dumped on it also.
exactly, that helped you. But in the future, if it happens again, give me a call. I will do my due diligence to let Mr. Pettit know about it, to get his guys to go out there and check them. There wasn't any misconfusion. They understood they had to clean that up. And hopefully, when you yourself and other constituents see it, please, please, please give me a call. We will follow up with that. And just like this particular time, we want to make sure it happens again in the future, that they do their job to clean up and it avoid any type of chemical or safety hazard for the people who live in the area. But I want to thank you again for giving me the information.
You're quite welcome. May I say to Mr. Gonzalez that the gentleman who was on the big tractor, I don't know what you call it, but he
Ma'am,
said
ma'am,
that
if I
they
might-
were from
ma'am,
Jefferson Parish and they
ma'am.
were helping Kenner out.
If there's an issue to address afterwards, I'm sure Mr. Gonzalez would stick around.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
And I'll be talking to you, Ms. Brown. Thank you, Mr. President.
Sure. Ms. Windsor?
Good evening, everyone.
Could you give us your name and address, please?
Dolores Windsor, 1521 Mayfield Street, Kenner, Louisiana, President of Lincoln Manor Civics Association. I'm calling to find out from code, there's a house being built in the 1400 block of 30th Street. Anyone know anything about it? The structure is going on now. And we just want to know what type of house is going to be built. The polys are setting up real high like this, and the homeowners are saying that they don't want a beach-like home built in the neighborhood. So can someone help me out with that? Who knows about it?
Yeah. Mr. Pettit, I would assume you don't know that off the top of your head. Could you look into that and address Ms. Windsor?
And also, in the 3000 block of Washington Avenue, one of the homeowners said adjacent to her home, it used to be the Gillard's old house. I don't know who owned the property now, but anyway, the weeds are about 5 feet, 7 feet tall. They cut part of it, but they don't cut it all. And they're complaining about it, so if we can get some help with that. And there's a house in the 3100 block of Albany. It's the Dimes old house, and it's falling down. It's about to crumble down. So we need to know if we can get some help with solving that problem also. And the guy was here earlier talking about how tires contract mosquitoes. Well, in the 3000 block of Albany Street, there's about 15 or 20 dump truck tires just setting out in the opening. So someone needs to make sure that get taken care of for me, please. And that's about it.
Is that all, Ms. Windsor?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that's it.
Councilman Carroll, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ms. Windsor, again, thank you for coming. I must say, this is the first time for those specific addresses that you addressed that I'm hearing about it. I'm glad that you did. I specifically hadn't any information as it related to those properties. A lot of the names that you call, obviously, we know because we live in the area about the families that live there. If, now that I know, I'll get the information from you so I can speak to Mr. Pettit about sending someone out there to address the grass and the other structures that you said. So we'll get the information. We'll have somebody go out there. In the future, if you give me a call, give me a little chance, a little information, then I'll be able to have answers prior to the meetings and be able to address it when you come and be able to give you a call to let you know.
One more thing. There's a party bus. We've been complaining about it for about a year or so now, being parked on the 3000 block of Akron. And we've been complaining about this for years. The neighbors saying, the homeowners saying they can't even see how to get out of their yards because the party bus is parked in the street, on the street. And if the chief or somebody would go out and issue a ticket or something, need to make this party bus move, because if somebody back out of their yard and can't see what's coming and have an accident, and the city knows about this,
Ms.
we've been telling them about it for a year.
Thank you, Ms. Windsor. As the time's expired, I'd ask that, if there's,
That's
those
fine.
issues can be
That's fine.
addressed
That's
afterwards.
fine.
Yes, I would just ask, Mr. President, before I close, Ms. Windsor, if you can take a picture, when you see the bus physically in the street, if you can take a picture for me, so that way we'll have some type of, because there are times when Mr. Pettit, the code people, or the chief go, if the bus is not there, then it's kind of hard to mitigate the solution. But if you take the picture, and if we go out there and see it, then we'll be able to address it. And this is just one more thing I'll get from you,
I might have a picture on my phone.
okay? Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. President.
At this time, I have a motion by Councilman DeFrances to adjourn.
Whereas this is a time to turn the tide against lung cancer by engaging in Turquoise Takeover, a national movement led by the American Cancer Society Lung Force to make lung cancer and lung disease history. Creating awareness will be accomplished by illuminating buildings and landmarks across the country, from New York to the city of Kenner, using the signature turquoise color during National Women's Lung Health Week during May 9th through the 13th, 2016. Whereas whether it's searching for cures for lung disease, keeping kids off tobacco, or fighting the laws that protect the air we breathe, the American Lung Association and Lung Force strives to save lives every day by utilizing the approaches of research, advocacy, and education and prevention. Whereas the City of Kenner hereby pledges its support with the lighting of Welcome to Kenner sign, the turquoise across the city, not only during National Women's Lung Health Week, but throughout the entire month of May. By promoting Turquoise Takeover, we anticipate increased awareness for Kenner citizens and commend the American Lung Association Lung Force on their ongoing effort to share the vision of seeing a world free from lung cancer. Now, therefore, I, Michael G. Segura, by the authority vested in me as acting mayor for the city of Kenner, along with the Kenner Council, do hereby proclaim the entire month of May as Turquoise Takeover. Here with the Lung Association, or Cancer Association, I'm sorry, is Miss Arlene Vidal. We're gonna, if you want to, please, could you come right over here? That's fine, if y'all come right over here. We'll give them a chance to talk a little bit on this. And I just noticed today that the FDA has agreed to start regulating tobacco and all tobacco products. So I think that's, she might have been wanting to say that, but I'm going to go ahead and steal her thunder for a second. But we're going to go ahead and let Ms. Eileen and her board members speak. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, great. Well, thank you so much, City Council members. My name is Scott Chapman. I'm on the board for the Lung Association. I've been on the board for the last few years and have gotten the opportunity to work with Eileen and with Cookie, and have seen the amount of work that they do to make the Lung Association successful, and how they partner with the National Association, but then also with city councils, with New Orleans, Kenner, et cetera. And can't tell you how much we appreciate the support, and thank you for everything that you do for us. Thank you. Give it to Eileen.
Thank you. And I just want to give a thank you to the City of Kenner and their volunteer department. Michelle Lawler has headed that for several years for us, and they are doing Turquoise Takeover events for us. They have a team in our walk October 1st, and we just appreciate your continued support of our mission. And yes, we are very proud of the new FDA regulations, and the Lung Association was the leader in that fight. Thank you.